welcome to season 2 of On the Spot. At On the Spot, we discuss the issues.
Sickle cell disease is one of the most prevalent genetic conditions in sub-Saharan Africa, where about 75% of the world's sickle cell disease occurs. Persons with sickle cell disease experience lifelong illness, chronic pain, fatigue, and a number of chronic health problems. Although the United Nations recognizes this as a global public health concern, unfortunately, the burden of this disease has not been amply addressed worldwide.
Hello everyone, I'm Margaret Cassell, representing the Western Area Urban in this year's Miss Sierra Leone Beauty Pageant. I was born in Cassell Farm, Kisi, and raised by a single mother. At age 9, I was diagnosed with sickle cell. Enduring the fatal pains of this disease over the years, and as a volunteer, I have lived and seen the power of fighting and conquering challenges to life and dreams. It's because of these experiences, those of the people with disabilities, the underprivileged, and all of you that have suffered from one cause or another, that I am in this competition. I want to be a voice because I am one of you. No one understands better what it means to fight for your dreams in the midst of challenges that range from diseases to social injustice. I understand this firsthand as a fighter and a conqueror. My platform is based on sickle cell anemia, and this is because protocols and provisions are being ignored. Services and environment are being removed. Situations are being trivialized. People are in pain. People are traumatized, and people are dying. Yet, as a group of people born with a painful, life-threatening condition, we are treated with contempt. Even in many cases, by medical professionals, we are treated like attention seekers, drug abusers, and lazy people with low IQ. Sickle cell is a genetic blood disorder that is characterized by a sickle-shaped red blood cell. This disease causes severe and life-threatening complications. The United Nations recognized sickle cell as a global public health concern, designating June 19 as World Sickle Cell Day.
Margaret Cassell, our warrior, joins us on the show. Welcome to the show, Margaret.
Thank you for having me.
And you are a beautiful warrior.
Thank you.
Living with the disease, how has it been for you?
Well, sickle cell, I believe I was born to use my voice to make an impact and change society. It's an excruciating, invisible pain that you can't really explain to someone who doesn't connect with you. But we can connect with our warriors. So I call myself a warrior because I fight with this disease. A month ago, I was down with a crisis, and it took me about a month to recover. That's how sickle cell is. It's like a hidden disability. It's like a disability. Yeah, it's a hidden one. You look so fine on the outside, but you're sick from the inside. So people will be like, I thought she's alright. Why is she in the hospital? Or what happened? Oh, she's dead. Oh, I saw her yesterday. That's how sickle cell is. So life living with sickle cell has been very challenging, but I'm persevering.
And of course, you're a beauty queen as well. You've taken part in Miss West Africa and even the Miss Sierra Leone, and you've used that platform to raise awareness on sickle cell. Tell us a little bit about the engagement.
From graduating from Jala University, I graduated in the rainy season, so I thought it fit to stay at home because this are the time we fall ill. And I decided to study why I had so many challenges with my health in college, and I found out that stress was one of the triggers. So is dehydration, malaria, infection. Because our immune systems are weak, we're prone to infection, like we easily catch flu and this funny thing. Stress, everyone gets stressed up, right? And it's inevitable. So I now know, I'm like, okay, so how do I pass out this message that I know this, but other people don't? and I need to tell them what I know, and I'm sure it will be
Help,
really helpful.
yes.
So I stayed home. I didn't want to work because I studied community development, and to work in the province 4 years in campus was very challenging. I stayed, so I came back to Freetown. I said, okay, well, one day I was on social media, Facebook to be precise, and I saw how I posted audition Miss West Africa, Sierra Leone, and model call. I went for the audition. Initially, I went for the model call. I've always had a passion for modeling, and I thought, okay, now I'm out of college. Initially, my mom said, no, you can't do that. And now I'm a graduate. I think I can do what I want. So I went for the first audition. I said I wanted to be a model, and she was like, why are you all shying away to the model? It was 2-in-1 audition. Are you here for Miss West Africa, or do you want to be a model? I was okay. They had a call back, and they shortlisted some models, and I went back and I switched over. I said, okay, I'm going in for Miss West Africa. Let me try pageantry. And she was, okay, you all need a platform. So I thought to myself, the only thing that I can relate with people is me. Like, let me use the Sickle Cell platform and raise awareness. So that's how I went into pageantry and the awareness raising.
Now, of course, you took part, like I mentioned earlier, in Miss Sierra Leone, 2019. Take us a little bit on that journey and how that has really helped you in your work of raising awareness on sickle cell.
So after Miss West Africa, I was the second runner-up for my first pageant. People thought, okay, you did a great job. So how I was, why don't you try Miss Sierra Leone? And okay, I'm like, all right, I'm sure I will. But I went to the Gambia for modeling competition in May, and the audition call for Miss Sierra Leone was in June, end of May to June. So I got a notification, social media, Miss Sierra Leone, they're auditioning for representative, and okay, I'm like, all right, I'm going to Freetown. I spent part of my lifetime in Gambia because of the war, and my mom went there, and I went after her. So basically, my elementary school class 1 to WAS level. So I have a bit of a Gambian thing. So I came back in May, and I went for audition, and called back. I went in June for audition. That was my birthday. I celebrated my 25th birthday going for audition. I spent almost the entire day auditioning because they started late, and they were like, okay, we'll give you a call to let you know if you've been selected. We went to 3 auditions, and the final one was a brain teaser because the number was really huge, and they needed to narrow it down. And then I was qualified to represent my district because I'm from Kisi. There is a place called Castle Farm in Kisi. That's where I'm from. I was born there, so I didn't grow up in Kisi, but because of my name, I represented my paternal
side.
Yes.
So how did that really help your awareness campaign? You know, joining or auditioning for Miss Sierra Leone and taking part. How did it help the awareness campaign?
So a lot of people reached out, not because I was in pageantry, but because of the platform I use, because it's so relatable. Like, it's hard to see a young person like me going into such with a cause, and they were like, I like what you're doing. I think you should continue the awareness. And I thought to myself, people talk about cancer, they talk about HIV, they talk about malaria, but you hardly hear people talk on sickle cell. And from what I can remember, the United Nations called sickle cell a global public health concern, and June 19 is designated as World Sickle Cell Day. So I'm like, I think I'm the right person to talk on sickle cell because I'm living with the condition. I'm a full-blown sickler. My genotype is SS. So both my parents are carriers. That's why, fortunately, I'm an only child before they separated. And I thank God. I believe this is my purpose, and I think everyone should find a calling and a purpose to life. So apart from pageantry, I thought it fit to use my platform to raise awareness, educate people, tell them how they can manage the disease, because there are a lot of myths attached to the disease. People say after 21 you'll be fine. You hear others say when you have a child you'll be fine. All these are myths. At 21 I almost lost my life. So it's not about you reaching a certain age, it's how you manage your life, because people live gracefully with the disease. I know someone who is in her 70s. She's an author, Judy Gray Johnson. I think she's in England, and she's a sickler, but she's living and she knows how to manage it. That's why she's telling people, she's raising awareness, educating people, and I thought I could do the same thing.
So what's the message you try to pass across to people? What should they take note of?
I think before saying I do to that beautiful or handsome guy, you should know your genotype and make sure you're compatible. Because why do you think people go for counseling before marriage? These are one of the reasons why people go for counseling. So you must be compatible, as in genotype wise. There are 3 types of genotypes. You have the AA, which is a normal person. You have the AS, who are the carriers. The carriers are healthy people. They hardly fall ill, so they look fine. When you see them, you don't even know they carry the traits. They can go through a lifetime without knowing they are carriers. And then you have the SS, which are people like me. So because we have the full blown and our immune system are weak, we're prone to infection, we easily get sick, and we're hospitalized, and we have all the attributes of a sickler because we carry the full blood. So people should watch out for before saying I do, or before having kids. Probably you don't want to marry. Sometimes people have children out of wedlock. Before reaching that stage, you should know the genotype of your partner, so you know whether your children will be affected by the disease. Because I believe sickle cell can be prevented. We talk of preventive measures before cure. As of now, there is no cure, even though they are finding cure. And sickle cell is very expensive. Whenever I'm hospitalized, my bills are over millions. Like my last crisis, I spent over 3 million. How many people can pay that?
Afford that?
Yeah, and sickle cell is an emergency crisis. Like you don't have a patient and you leave her on the bench for her to fill all the necessary details before admitting her. That you're losing a patient. So all this, not everyone have the financial strength to go through what I'm going through, and I'm not lucky, but I believe I'm blessed, and a lot of people have reached out, and I believe I'm fighting for a great cause. So I'm using my voice to raise awareness, and before saying I do, or before having child, because the kid will be the one to pay for the mistakes of the parents. My parents didn't know. Like my mom, I was raised by a single parent. That's my mom, so I'm very close to my mom. She's like, if I had known, I'm like, it's not your fault. You didn't know. This is ignorance, and that's why I'm raising awareness for people to know. At least you'll be well informed that this action, the consequence of my action will be this. I know that it's a game of probability. You might be lucky, you might not be lucky like me. So know your genotype, make sure you're compatible before carrying that child. You don't want to condemn a child before birth, because sickle cell is very painful, very expensive, and that's
very well. Thank you so much for coming on the show to share your, just share a little bit about yourself and the work you're doing in raising awareness on sickle cell. It's, I love the term warrior. You are indeed a warrior. A lot of people have lost their lives to this disease, and it's more important now than ever that people are aware of it and know how they can prevent it. Unfortunately, there is no cure. But thank you so much. Of course, we are taking a quick break, but we'll be leaving you with this very short message from Margaret Cassell.
When 2 carriers marry, that's the genotype AS, 1 in 4 chances of having sicklers like myself, 2 in 4 chances of having carriers like themselves, and 1 in 4 chances of having a normal genotype kid. Be screened, have the test, don't pass it on. Know your genotype and save the next generation from sickle cell disorder.
Domestic revenue mobilization is a key instrument for the government of Sierra Leone in reducing poverty, increasing financial independence, achieving middle income status, and charting the path for new directions. From supporting the free quality education, good roads, healthcare, electricity, and more.
Domestic revenue mobilization is very critical when it comes to national development.
Through the Asicoda World, we have developed beautiful management tools. We have also developed systems in which it will bring transparency and help to the importer, to the broker.
iTax is a platform for all your domestic taxes. The electronic cash register system is the game changer.
Let's support government by paying our taxes. For more information, visit the nearest NRA office or log on to our website www.nra.gov.sl.
As we continue the discussion on living with sickle cell disease, my next guest, who has gone through the horrors of battling with this disease, now runs an organization called Sickle Cell Carers Awareness Network that supports patients and families to manage this disease in her hometown, Kano. Her name is Sierra Evelyn Inyandemo, and she shares her journey with us. Welcome to the show, Sierra.
Thank you very much.
Your journey into raising awareness on sickle cell disease is a personal journey.
It is indeed.
Can you take us through on it?
Wow. My journey actually started with our first daughter who had sickle cell, but we didn't know she had sickle cell. When I am always talking about this story, I take it personally because I call it my story. I have said it over, I've told this story over and over, but I will say again, it is my story. My daughter, our first daughter, one day came back from school. This is a child looking healthy, active. She came back from school one day and she had temperature. But because she is a child that didn't want to take medication, she just came from, lunchtime and asked for her plate. Then they used to give food in schools. We had school meals, just like what they are trying to do now. So I looked at her eyes were swollen. So called her in to come and take me. She says, "No, I'm fine, Mommy. I just want my plate. I want to go back and go and eat my lunch." She went back. But she couldn't reach school because she was very tired. I think she was weak then. So my neighbor saw her and then she asked her, "Why are you here?" She said, "My mom wants me to go to school and I'm not well." So they brought this child back to me. When she came, I held her name, Tanema. I said, "Tanema, you can only go to school when you're well." I said, "If you're not well, I won't send you to school." She came in, I gave her medication. She went and lied down for a while. When around about 4 o'clock, she woke up and started playing with the other brother and the other sister. Okay. That night, we went to bed, slept. Early in the morning, around 4 a.m., she woke up and started saying, "Mommy, me belly dey hurt." because I was so tired. I had 3 kids, and they had sickle cell, but I didn't know then. But because they are always sick and I'm always in and out of hospital, in fact, even our nurses, they said they were going to build me a house in the hospital, because as soon as they are ill, I run to them. So I said, you know, can't lay down at the front, vomit tomorrow morning, I'll go I'll grab her, go clean her. Not knowing that that girl was going through some pain. So she was lying down there, and then we slept. You know, people would think you're wicked, but I was very weak I was very tired, you know. So in the morning, she was so weak, I took her to the hospital. Normally, this is a child, when she sees needle, she will start screaming. But on that day, she did not cry, she didn't even flinch. So the nurse told me, said, this child is very ill. For her to, you know, see the needle, and even we injected her, she's not moved, not done anything. They said, go and check her blood. They went, we checked her blood. Her blood was about 6% to 4%.
And what's the normal blood? What should be the normal blood?
It should be above around 10. 10 is good, 12 is good. Within 10, it's okay.
And hers was about 6?
About within 6 and 4. Yes, I can remember they said, you know, in blood low. But they didn't send us for, you know, blood transfusion or anything, or refer us to a bigger hospital. Where you know, I was born in Jayamani Mikoro, where they had one of the best community hospitals, community centers. It was run by German, you know, nurses, and it was one of the best in Kono. So when they refer you from that hospital to another hospital, you know this is problem. But because they also did not know about sickle cell, they just checked her blood. Nobody said we should do blood transfusion or even check whether she has trait of sickle cell. That did not happen. So we went back home. They gave us some medication. When we went back home, around about 4 in the afternoon, she started becoming very restless. So I brought her back. When I brought her back, they saw her and she was very helpless. And then that was when they said, you know what, we're going to refer you to Kwedu Government Hospital. I went back to pack our bags. I left my aunties with the child. Going back home now, you know, somebody came to tell me that one of my aunties just came and said, Ipkin don't die, Tenema don't die. Just like that. Because of the shock, now looking back, I think I was shocked. I went numb, but then I didn't know. I was numb, I was not able to cry. I was just looking at people crying. And in those days, when a child as healthy as Tenema was playing about, and then all of a sudden we go to a hospital and they said, you know, get better blood. What do we think about? Which man they don't suck in blood? That's how we took it. And we started pointing fingers to the extent they brought in a witch doctor then. They came and did their whatever and so forth, and even, you know, described whoever they said was responsible. And you will not believe it. People would think, oh, this is not true. But in 3 weeks' time, the guy told us in 3 weeks' time, somebody from your mother's side will come home from wherever and said, you know, she has stomach problems. When she says that, just know that she's responsible. And in 3 weeks' time, one of my aunties was ill to the extent that, in fact, she died after 3 weeks. But before she died, when she got sick, they said, oh, it must be her. We all started pointing fingers, and it was a big hole in our family. We didn't know that. Then after 2 months, the other child started showing the same symptoms. That was when they referred us to Panguma.
Quickly, how old were your kids?
Tenema was about 5 when she passed away. And then the other sister also passed away when she was 5. Yes, the other sister also passed away when she was 5. Within a month's time, the other sister started showing the same symptoms. When we went to our community clinic, they sent us to Panguma. The first time I heard the name Sickle Cell. When we came, they took her in with what the referral letter they sent us.
Third daughter?
That was my second daughter.
Second daughter.
I had first daughter. The first child was a girl. The second is a boy. And the third is Miata. And that's the second daughter. Okay? The fourth is Findakwanimbriwa. She also has sickle cell. But I'll come to that story. So this After 1 month, Miata started showing the same symptoms as Tenema. So they sent us to Panguma. We went to Panguma. The first time they checked her and they said, oh, this child has sickle cell. I was in the room. And they said, you know what, we'll do blood transfusion. That was all they told her. They didn't tell me because I had a trait, the father had a trait. They just said she's got sickle cell, we'll do blood transfusion. They got blood from the father and then transfused the girl. They discharged us, we came back to Kono with no management advice. They didn't tell us how to manage her or anything. All I knew, anytime we see that she's pale, because I will go around, you know, pricking their eyes. Anytime I saw her that she was pale, we'll go to the hospital and they'll transfuse her. Until one day again, when, you know, she got crisis and that led to her death. When she actually died in my hands. On that day, in the evening, she told me that, Mom, I want to go wet. I took her behind the house. You know, she sat on the floor. She was there and she just said, Ndinja, Nja, Inkono, Mama, pick me up, pick me up. So I picked her up around about 8 in the evening. As I picked her up, I lay her on my shoulder. She just went up and down. And I screamed. My grandmother, my mother, they came and we took her, laid her in this.
And it's a very emotional.
Yeah. And that was it. Then we were about to go and bury her the next day. As we were going to the graveside, because when your first child dies in our culture, you're not supposed to mourn, you're not supposed to go to the graveside, you're not supposed to even go with them. So I didn't know where her grave was. So I'd never been there. After 2 years, the sister died. As we were approaching, I just said, no, I can't do this. I didn't go to see Tenema off. I cannot go and see Miata off. I'll stop here. So I just said, goodbye, Miata. Greet your sister for me. And then one of my grandmother's sister turned around and she said, what is happening to you is not ordinary. You must have hands in this. You know something about these children's death. Or things like this don't just happen like that. You must confess. And as young as I was, I started believing it must be my fault. Why is it happening to me? I said, it must be my fault in my mind. I felt the guilt, I felt shame, and that was it. So now they are pointing fingers at me. And then the third child starts. When that third child started, I had to give her to her grandmother. I took her to the village and left her there because I didn't want to get used to her again for her to die. Sorry about this.
That's fine.
And then she stayed there for 2 years whilst I was in Freetown. Every time when I see somebody from Kono, I would think they're going to tell me that my daughter has died. But she survived it. After 2 years, I came back and I went to see her. When we went to see her, she was pale, swollen. Even the clothes that I brought for her, she couldn't wear them. So I took her, myself and the brother. We came to the junction. That was in Jagbema Fiaman. We came to the junction. In fact, when I went, she was sitting in a fana. They were rubbing, ashes on her. They said she is not able to breathe, that they have this herbalist that is treating her. Because when you have sickle cell and you have the crisis, they don't have the oxygen, they lack oxygen. And because of that, she was not able to breathe properly. And then, because they are not able to breathe properly, our understanding in our traditional or whatever it is, because of lack of the knowledge of sickle cell, they said they don't tie witch rope now in chest. Sometimes they will cut their bodies to tell them that they are cutting the ropes, but it's not that, it's lack of oxygen. Because she was not able to breathe properly, she was sitting in that fana when we went with all the ashes on her. I asked the grandmother, she told me, I said, you know what, I'm going to take this child today. She said, no, you get for left anaya, because she's under the herbalist. I said, no, today I'm going to take her to my own herbalist, which is the doctor. So I took that girl, we wore her clothes on it, they couldn't fit her. It was only the nightie that she could wear, the pajamas that I took. And She wore the pajamas. I took her back. People were even thinking because I've done that, the child will die because they were not happy the way I took the child. So we came to Kwedu. From Kwedu, straight away the next day, I took her to Freetown. And because, again, I lacked the knowledge of everything, of sickle cell, do you know how to manage it? We said because the child has been eating too much rice, that's why her tummy was swollen. So we started giving a child salad. Can you imagine a child from the village? You go and start giving her all this raw grass. Poor girl, she went through hell. But you know something? She survived it. And still we didn't do anything about sickle cell. Then luckily, my husband went to England and I followed him there. When I joined him there, I had this name of sickle cell, but didn't know how you pass it on, how she even got the sickle cell. Still, I didn't know that I was straight or the father was straight. All we knew that child has sickle cell. Nobody told us about that. So one day I was on the bus, and then I saw Sickle Cell Society. It was like when you see diamond. I just came off the next bus stop and walked back. I went into that office and then I asked them if I can get information on sickle cell, and they give it freely. I took so many, leaflets information, came back and sat there, started reading it. After reading it, then I started sending messages now to my cousin. Then my child was still here. I left her here whilst I was in England. I started sending messages to them, how to manage a child, what to give the child, penicillin, folic acid every day.
Became the doctor.
So they continue managing her until she arrived in England. When she arrived in England, normally in England, when our children come, we take them to the shops to go and buy them sweet clothes and so forth. That was not her case. Straight away to the hospital because her eyes were so yellow and she was so thin. So we took her to the doctor. When the doctor saw her and said, why are your eyes yellow? She said, Nasumi yai dentan. Okay. The doctor said we should wait outside. The next minute, it was an ambulance. They said they are taking us to the hospital. For the first time, my daughter, somebody touched her and put a hand on her, a medical doctor, and asked her, say, how are you?
It's been a really tough journey for you.
It was.
Getting to this point, losing two people, before figuring out what the problem actually is or was.
Yeah.
And your child, the third daughter, survived this ordeal.
She went through the worst you can think of, but she survived because she arrived in England. They had the knowledge, they had the treatment for it. No cure, but they have the treatment, and they taught us going in and out of hospital with our daughter, working with professionals, day in and out, seeing her when she's well, seeing her when she's unwell. We learned so much. One day, after a serious, episode, a life-threatening one, that was in 2007, we thought she was going to die. But I tell you, she survived it. That was when I changed my mind. I said, you know what? I must do something about sickle cell. I spoke to my husband and said, you know what? Go ahead. And we decided we're going to set up something for people to know about sickle cell.
And you decided to do it in your hometown?
In my hometown, because that is where the story began, and that is where they know us, and that is where we will have people that will believe in us and work with us. Because if we come and say we are doing it in Freetown, first of all, we don't know much people in Freetown. And when you say you're going to set up a charity, the first thing that comes to their mind, you get money. They don't get money. But we started it with 20 pounds. 20 pounds, our own money. And then when we started it, people started now hearing about it. And then our friends started giving us, funding us, donating to us. You understand? That's how we've been funding it. People will fund us. And then our church started giving us, funding. When we go to church every Sunday, each and every person in our church will give £1 towards Sickle Cell Carers Awareness
How old
Day.
is your daughter right now?
She is now 37, going to 38, and she's got twin daughters. She's finished her education. She's got twin daughters who are 16. They are here for the first time. So I must say, thanks be to God.
Absolutely.
Thanks be to
Her
God.
story, thankfully, is different from the story of your other two daughters.
Yes.
But the story of your other two daughters represents the stories of thousands of Sierra Leoneans who have lost their loved ones and currently living with this disease.
Yes.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about your work in Kono and the real data coming out from the work you're doing.
Thank you.
This is On the Spot, and we're talking about living with sickle cell. We'll be back.
Setting up a business can be a headache, finding office space, buying furniture, printers and photocopiers, but if you're not ready for all that, BSI can help. BSI provides furnished and serviced office spaces for the short or medium term, whether it's for a day meeting, a conference or an immediate office rental for a few months. There are no long-term cost commitments and the offices are fully equipped with all your office needs. Or we can simply provide you with a prestigious business address thanks to one of our virtual offices. Find out more about BSI, your office away from the office. Go to bsisl.com or call 076 242 328.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Abu. I am calling for your rental tax payment.
Oh my goodness.
Hello? This is a call from the...
Your colleague is on the other line. Can you just please hold?
You are a landlord or property agent. You don't hear about rental income tax. As property owner or agent where they collect rent, the law say you for pay tax and are you tax identification number where they call team you they use for pay am.
Yes, me fumble them. The law say without this tax identification number, you not go able to pay your tax. And if you not pay your tax, the law go bet you tranga one. Welcome, sir. Please sit.
Thank you.
We don't make them easy for you now. The law say, since you the collect rent we pass 7.2 million leons, you for come to NIA and pay your rental tax just after where your tenants don't pay you done.
So no more calls from everywhere.
You go just get one SMS or one phone call. We go remind you, sir.
Thank you very much.
For no more, go to any NIA office near you or visit www.nia.gov.sl.
Remember, paying taxes is required by law.
Welcome back. We are speaking about living with sickle cell, and I still have with me Sia. Now, Sia, you started your organization, the Sickle Cell Carers Awareness Network, based on the personal experience and having to live with and deal with sickle cell. And you've started this in your hometown in Kono. What's the reality in Kono as we speak right now?
Right now, as we speak, let me go back to, starting it in Kono, because this is a question people ask me. Why Kono? But why not Kono? It happened in Kono. And if I did not go back there, it would have been a lost story. And a lot of children out there would have died by now. I'm not saying we are playing God, because God gives us life, but God gives us the knowledge and the understanding and staying alive. So in Kono right now, I would say a lot of people now know about sickle cell. As we speak, the prevalence in the Kono, it's alarming. It is. We did a survey. The first time we did a survey was in 2011. We just did one chiefdom, which is, a small place in Kono. And we came up with 19%. We screened about 3,693. And the sickle cell, those that were really having sickle cell, then we could not diagnose. But because of my knowledge of knowing the symptoms, we are able to point at those that really had sickle cell and those that were just straight by their symptoms. But even at that, we missed out a lot. As I'm talking to you, we have on our books over 2,000 people actually diagnosed. How were they diagnosed? We had this doctor, which is called Dr. Chidi Jaja, that saw me on Facebook, because I used to post a lot about sickle cell on Facebook with the hope somebody will see us and come to our aid, because we needed a hematologist, we needed some doctor, we needed nurses, we needed social workers, we needed, sickle cell nurse specialists. So I was out there, sending messages, and one day I got a call from him and they asked me, what are you doing with sickle cell? So I told him. He said, okay, I'll come back to you. It took 1 year. But every time I kept, updating him about the challenges, about the positive things that were happening, until one day during Ebola, he came to our aid and he called me. He said, I'm going to Sierra Leone and I'm actually going to Kono. Can you give me your contact details of people that I can talk to when I arrived? I gave it to him. He came and he actually went and saw the children. When he saw the children, they touched him. And he told us, I'll come back. And when I come back, I'll change things around here. And that he did. He came back, he started screening. For the first time, he screened people free of charge. It was Dr. Chidi Jaja that did it in Kono. And right now, as I speak, we have, like I said, over 2,000 people diagnosed. And there's this understanding between us and the Kwedu government hospital that when we send people there, they will screen them for sickle cell to know that they have the trait.
So looking at the health system in Kono, has there been an improvement where the health practitioners and those who are giving out the healthcare services understand and are now better placed to manage and support and patients and even family members of people having sickle cell disease?
Yes, as we speak, we have held about 2 or 3 meetings with PIH who are now coming on board. They want to start. In fact, they've actually started treating people with sickle cell in the communities. Once they come and they prove that they have sickle cell, they have started, treating them now. And a lot of people now know when a child is, having swollen ankles, crying all the time, looking pale, always sick, they will tell them, have you heard about sickle cell? Go to number 42 Kenkodo Road and let them check this child. So the awareness is there. But we still need to do a lot of work, because there's a lot of a lot we have not done, a lot of places we have not reached. Those on motorable roads, we've not reached them. And there's still kids out there that people think it is down to witchcraft that they have all these symptoms. So there's a lot of work to be done. Though we have done so much, people are aware now. We've gone to schools, and educated teachers about how to manage our children when they are with them for that 8 hours. The hospitals, there are doctors now supporting, nurses know about it. So there's a lot of, education around Kwedu town, I would say, and the surrounding.
Prevention. Because it is prevented.
Yes, you can't prevent it.
When in your awareness raising engagement and pushing prevention, what is the message you usually send across to people?
First and foremost, I tell those young people who are sexually active, I tell them, before you start thinking of having children, Please prevent yourself first and foremost, those of you that are sexually active. And if you cannot do that, you want to have children, please go and check your sickle cell status before you go into having babies. I said, because you can be carrying the trait, it won't affect you. You go and meet a woman or a man who has it, it won't affect both of you. But the child you give birth to might come as sickle cell. And I tell you, 25% of those children, people who have a trait, they have children, 25% of those children are sickle cell children, 25% are AA, and 50% are trait. So every young person does not have a child yet, even pregnant women, I tell them, go and check. You don't lose anything by checking. Knowing is powerful. Knowing is power. Because when you have a sickle cell child, that money you're going to spend in hospitals, because it's a disease that's uncurable, they don't cure it anywhere in the world yet. Right? They said they have this stem something they do. Do we do that in Sierra Leone? When I'm talking my world, it's Sierra Leone. This is my world. If it's not happening here, it's not happening anywhere, because we don't have the resources, we don't have the, we don't have it yet. So the money you'll be spending to take a child to the hospital, the money that you're supposed to spend on school, on feeding, on clothing, on rent, will be going to the hospital. And you're going there, the medication is not there. And it is so painful when you see your child in pain, and you cannot help that child. My daughter tells me, say, Mom, the pain is like when they take a knife and they're cutting your bone. Young people who are sexually active, or those that have not yet married, I advise them, go and check your sickle cell status. Because if you go and check your sickle cell status, they said you have AS. You know now that you're a trait. Then if you meet somebody who has a trait, if you love yourselves, carry on. You can love and have children, but with the knowledge. You're mentally, physically, and emotionally ready. Go and see somebody who has sickle cell before you go into it. But just going into it, it's not advisable. Because when you have AS, you marry to an AS, you have SS. Sometimes you have an AA child when you are lucky. You can have an AA child, you have an AS child. AS means trait. AA means they are clear of sickle cell. SS is, you have the full-blown sickle cell. So before two people join together to have a child and they have AS, they should really sit down, go for counseling, think about it, think whether you should adopt, think whether you should, not have children or have children. Have the choice. I say have a choice. Make your own informed choice. We are not God. We are not playing God. But from where I am, one day I told my daughter this. I said, if I come back into this world, I don't think I will do sickle. And she said, so you won't have me. I said, I will have you, but without the sickle cell. I will have you without the sickle cell. And she asked me one day, said, Mom, would you have, if you had known, would you have given back to me? Because she read the book. And every time she reads this book, she comes to challenge me. I said, if you had known, would you have given back to me? I said, no, I would not have. But today I can tell you, the work we have done, I say this to people. Our children died for somebody to live. Because if they did not die, I will not be here. And if she had not survived, because she inspired us that yes, if you treat these children the right way means not just giving them medication. Sickle cell is not just about medication, it's a holistic thing. You think about the social, you think about the medicinal, you think about their, everything, the network when they are ill, who looks after them when you want to go and do something, when they are well, what you're supposed to do. And this is all the support and the love is offering to people in Kano. Yes, we are doing that. And I can tell you now, today, the parents have formed themselves. They have an organization which they call the Carers Group, wherein they support each other. That was what I was lacking in my days. Nobody would ever come after a whole night, sitting awake with my child, for anybody to even come and say, how you did? They would just say, how they picking? We carers also need that support. Nobody ever will say, how you sleep, how you sell. And you need that. When the carer is being supported, then the carer is able to give care. So these are the things. Or like I was saying, AS plus AS, they give AA or SS. AA plus AA na AA. You understand? AA and AA will have an AA child. AS and AS will either have AA or they will have AS or SS. So I will tell every young person that is ready to go and that are preparing to have children, do not play lottery with your children's life, because that's a lucky dip. You go in there, base, I don't get AA, base, I get AS, base, I get SS. What would you do? Not play lottery with children's lives. Go and get educated about sickle cell, and then you decide to have the child.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Your story has been quite touching, and I'm not going to say sorry for your loss. I would say your loss has saved thousands of children. So
Your loss,
It's a gain.
it's a gain.
I'll say that.
Because many children
Are
are
living today.
alive because of you.
Yes.
And the sacrifice those two daughters had to make.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sia. We'll definitely share your contacts so that those who are in Kano who probably haven't heard about your work can access you.
Yes.
And for
We need
people who are watching who probably want to support, because right now it is self-funded. And you need
And
and
you're
your
struggling
organization.
Struggling right now for medication, for clothing, because we do give them clothing. Sometimes when we have, we'll give them food just to encourage them. And our volunteers, they just do it out of love. Never seen people like them. Without them, there would have been no Sickle Cell Carers Awareness Network in Kono. And we don't just support Kono. People are coming from Guinea, the surrounding neighboring country, Guinea, from Kwenadugu, from Makeni, from Bo. They come to us. People have left Freetown to go
there.
To go to
I
us.
think it's high time the
Yes.
government also support the
This
work
is it.
that you're doing. But we'll continue this conversation.
We
We'll
pray
definitely
that
bring
the
you.
Bio-led government will support this organization.
And I'm hoping that at some point in time in the next conversation with you, we'll be having your daughter as well
Thank you.
to also share her story. Thank you so much. We wish
Thank
you all the
very much.
best.
It's nice having. I'm happy you have me here today.
Yes. Well, this is On the Spot. We'll take a break and we'll be back. In my final words, sickle cell disease is a disease that still remains largely unknown by a large population of the country, and the lack of attention on the national level have further increased the rapid rate of inheritance of this disease. The widespread lack of attention cannot be placed squarely on the government, as even international partners, local NGOs, and even the media also have major roles to play if we are to tackle this crisis. Although there is a gradual push from different quarters to see a mandatory genotype test for pregnant women, however, this must be broadened to ensure that all citizens are aware. It is very important for you to know your genotype and that of your partner so as to make hard but life-saving decisions on not only your relationship, but importantly, the life of your child. It is advisable that anyone with a sickle cell trace shouldn't marry anyone also carrying the sickle cell trace, so as to save the unborn child from a lifelong battle with the complications of living with this disease. Go out today to the nearest hospital for a quick test that can save you from the lifelong journey of dealing with the disease. Thank you so much for watching tonight's episode. Share your thoughts on the show on our Facebook page and do connect with me on the various social media handles on display. Move on to our website, www.onthespotwithstella.com. to stay updated on all our episodes. On the Spot will be back next week, so stay fabulous.